So Jeff Bezos has just handed you 4 million quid and said, make an anime or I will send my killer robots after you. In this situation, you are completely fucked. Not only do you not know how to make an anime from scratch, but you also know that Jeffrey probably does own those killer robots. But fear not, I am here to help you understand how anime is made. There are 3 main source materials for anime: manga, light novels and anime originals. We will be focusing on manga for this video since it is the most common out of the 3. Pretty much all anime is made by professional studios. You might have already heard of quite a few of them, such as Mappa, David Studio, Cloverworks, Ufotable, and the studio that ripped off the cat in the hat for their logo. The way these studios make money is by creating anime.
Who did you expect? Sparta flop?
But how do these studios decide what they will animate in the first place? Well, mostly this is up to a very dark force known as the production committee. The production committee consists of various companies in the entertainment business such as television stations, streaming services and merch makers sitting down together and saying, holy shit dude, this manga is interesting, let's try and monetize the living daylights out of it. Then the bigwigs all shake hands and contract an animation studio for a decently low price to make an anime out of the manga. On occasion, an anime studio might approach a mangaka with an offer of turning their work into an anime, and sometimes a mangaka might even want to choose the animation studio for themselves. So after all the decisions have been made, responsibility is handed over to the studio that then starts working towards a deadline. At this point, it makes sense to take a quick look at all of the different roles in an anime studio. Please don't click off now, since I promise that this will make sense at the end of the video. If your hands are feeling itchy though, then you could always like and subscribe. So without further ado, here's the chart. Now I borrowed this chart and learned quite a lot from kanzenshu.com, who haven't sponsored me in any way, but whose website helped me greatly with researching this, so I will leave a link in the description. As you can see, a studio can be divided into 4 different categories: the series development, the management department, the production department, and the post-production department. We've already looked into the series development department, which consists of the manga author, the production committee, and the producer who handles communications with the anime studio, so let's continue with the production stage. But before we start with the main production of an anime, we first need to take a look at some of the steps that need to be taken before an episode can be animated. First of all, the series director, who is pretty much the head honcho when it comes to actually producing the anime, sits down with the script department to discuss the actual contents of the anime. One person from the script department will be in charge of actually outlining the plot of the series and dividing it into episodes. I know it's not that simple, but think of a timeline on a whiteboard divided into however many episodes there have been commissioned. Obviously, there is a lot more detail in the actual series composition, but this is it in its most basic form. The person in charge of working out the series composition then gives the details to the scriptwriters, who write the actual dialogue, movements and everything else that belongs into a script. The episode directors will mostly also be present at this meeting. Another important meeting that needs to be held before an anime can begin production is the character design meeting. If you have ever read a manga, then watched the anime, or even done that the other way round, then you might have noticed that the characters don't look exactly the same in both mediums. This is due in part to censorship, ease of drawing, and a 360-degree understanding of a character, which is necessary for creating anime. The last point is especially important since there are large gaps in movement in a manga. Just compare a fighting manga to its anime, for example, and you can see that there's this absolutely massive sort of space between movements in the manga that the anime somehow needs to fill in. Back to making anime now though. The director will ask an experienced animator to design these characters. That animator then has the arduous task of not only designing characters appropriate for use in television, but also pleasing the author and the fans with their design. Trust me, I've seen so many occasions where the fans just haven't liked the way that the anime looks. But while the animator is designing the characters, there's already another meeting going on, where the director and other important participants of the anime need to decide on something vital. But what could that possibly be? I'll give you 2 seconds to guess. Go! That's right, they need to decide on voice actors. Mostly there would have been a casting call before this meeting, where thousands of hopefuls have turned up in front of the people at the meeting, have voice acted to the best of their abilities and have been written off right from the get-go. While choosing voice actors, there are 2 important factors to consider. Suitability for the role. I mean, just imagine if the voice actor for Miku Nakano were tasked with voice acting Sasuke Uchiha, for example. And popularity. Popular voice actors can draw fans to the project they are working on. An interesting but ultimately successful blend of the 2 could be seen rather recently. There is an anime called Try 9, which I have never even heard of, and you probably haven't either. Probably because it has a 6.14 rating on my anime list. Yeah, not really the best. But the English dub version has cast famous streamer
Corpse Husband as the main villain of the series,
whose voice fits the look of the villain rather well, and now the internet is freaking out. A good way to gain publicity while not decreasing the quality of the voice acting. But back to the meeting. There will likely be a long discussion which will end with the voice actors getting their respective roles. So while they are discussing, let's have a quick look at the production stage of an anime. For this, it is important to say that anime studios don't add sound in-house, so they only produce the visual side of things at the actual studio. So how does everybody actually know what is supposed to be done? Well, that problem is solved by having a strict hierarchy and process. First of all, the episode director takes the content that he needs to put into the episode and draws a small panel with a description for each and every cut. Oh, and in case you hadn't noticed, there are a ton of cuts in anime. Just take a quick look at this. Once the director is finished, he gives this to the production assistants, who I will cover a bit later, don't worry. These production assistants then distribute the scenes to the artists who do the actual animation, etc. The way they distribute these depends on the difficulty of the cut and how many cuts an artist can draw. These artists can actually be divided into 5 subgroups. But wait, let me do this in an anime explainer style to make this a bit more interesting. Cue the music. Since the dawn of time, artists in anime studios have been divided into 5 clans, each taking intense pride in their work and product. Often, these clans have clashed over which is the superior. The animator clan to the west is the most well known at the moment. They are in charge of drawing the rough animation in black and white and animating the characters and their essential movements. Please take a look at an example of their work. To the southeast reside the Tweeners, a clan that's separated from the animators. The Tweeners are known for their work ethic, as they are the ones who tirelessly add even more frames between the keyframes to make the animation appear as smooth as silk. If you follow the crows flying northwards, you will find the highly technologically advanced tribe known as CG artists. These artists use their computers to construct 3-dimensional models of vehicles and sometimes other things to be used in an anime. The CG tribe often clashes with the more traditional animation clan over which style of making anime is better. A spot of luck for the other clans, since were those two to join forces, why, their might would be unstoppable. To the east lives the 4th of the 5 clans, the artistic clan known as the Art Clan. Seriously, who wrote the script? Oh wait, it was me. Never mind. Anyway, the Art Clan is in charge of creating the appropriate backgrounds for scenes, mountain ranges, woods, cities, offices and open seas. You name it and they will draw it. Now finally, let us shift our attention to the most fairy tale-like clan of all, the coloring department, where all the black and white drawings are brought to life with color. On a more serious note though, I doubt they would be impressed if you gave them a coloring book, so try and resist the urge. Right, that's enough of the old man narration. I'm terribly sorry for putting you through that. Let's get back to business. And do you know what all good businesses have? Yeah, that's right, a manager! Anime studios also have their managers. A manager's job is to make sure that there is a constant stream of communication and that everything they're in charge of gets finished on time. Is a keyframe sick and needs to be replaced? That's the manager's job. Is the director taking too long for the storyboard? Looks like the manager needs to go and give him a kick up the arse. Does someone who works from home need something picked up? Manager's job. What I am trying to say with this is that managers pretty much need to be more flexible than Hermes Conrad in a limbo competition when it comes to working and scheduling tasks. Now let's zoom out and in on the table for the last time in this video. I can hear your sigh of relief already. The last of the 4 main groups is the post-production group. This is everything that is not done in the anime studio itself. Basically, the anime studio makes a completely silent episode which then gets sent to a recording studio. That is where the voice actors, who you might remember from the start of a video, stand in booths and dub the silent anime. This is the stage where the sound effects are also added. It's a seriously painstaking task, but instead of explaining it, let me show it to you. Right, now which one of these do you want to use for this cut? Rinse and repeat this for 300 cuts and you are done with an episode. And that isn't even including the situations when the effect isn't on the databank and needs to be recorded by a Foley artist. You know, the people who wave the leaves around in front of a microphone. The other thing that is done in post-production is editing. That's right, as if carefully thinking of 300 cuts before they even existed wasn't hard enough for the director, he now needs to sit down and cut small scraps, in other words, single frames, to make the anime exactly as long as it's supposed to be. After all of that is done, the director needs to approve the final product before it can finally be sent to the television station or wherever else it is being aired. And then the process starts all over again for some people. The others might still be working on other episodes in the meanwhile. So just to sum it all up, let me run you through how a frame in a manga turns into an anime. Let's take this frame here. The mangaka draws the frame. The production committee then decides to make an anime out of it and tasks an animation studio with the task of animating it. The director of the series then tasks an animator with designing the characters who appear in that frame, alongside the rest of the characters, while they themselves decide on the voice actors. Once all of that is finished, the series composition department decides in which episode the panel belongs, and then tasks a scriptwriter in the team to write the lines for what the characters are saying in that panel. Once they have compiled that information, they send it off to the episode director, who turns the panel into a cut. One of many, I should add. Once the episode director is finished with his work, the management takes that work and assigns the cut of our manga panel to a keyframe animator. That animator then animates all the essential points of movement in black and white. After an experienced keyframer has approved the cut, it is then sent to the tweening department. There, more animators draw more frames in between the keyframes to make the movement fluid and beautiful. Once it has been checked again, it would be sent to the CG department if there were any need for CG in that cut. Then, the cut is sent to the colouring department, who add colours to the black and white drawing for each and every frame. Keep in mind that until now, only characters and other essential moving parts have been animated, which means that all of the characters are still moving on a white piece of paper. That is why, after yet another check, the cut is sent to the art department, which adds backgrounds and any other things that have been requested. Once all the OKs have been given, the finished animation is put to the post-production stage, where the previously chosen voice actors dub our cut, and a studio engineer, together with the episode director, put sound effects in. Once all of that is done, the director watches the final product.
What? 宮村、水くれない？めんどくせえ。
and sheds a tear at this exact cut. Why? Just because it sounds nice and poetic. Anyway, that's how our manga panel has turned into an anime. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, you might want to drop a like, subscribe, and tell me what else about anime you might want to learn about. See you next week.